Oh my gosh, I know we're live. You know what? I'm going to cut the intro short because I don't know what's going on. So I hope I'm coming in clear. I think I'm going to wait and see who checks in. How is my familia? How is everyone? Happy Monday. I know I'm live. It's so excited to be here. Technical issues. That's what happens when we're live sometimes, right? Am I right? It happens. So, but we're live. My guest is here, and that's what matters. So, I'm going to give my little intro. Please let me know how I sound, if I'm clear, if I'm coming in good, because I want this episode to shine. I want us to de-stress together, just have a really nice, peaceful episode. I'm so excited to introduce my guest. So, most of the time it's mayhem. But today, I think we're going to do a little bit like more peacefulness. So I think that's how we're going to go. Okay, my dear friends, my familia, hello, hola. Welcome to my Mayhem Streamcast. I'm so excited. We're here to kick off another week, season 2, wonderful guests to share their story and mayhem. I hope everyone's starting their week refreshed. It's a new month. It's November. I'm DJ, your host, visual descriptor for audio listeners, visually impaired. I'm a female Latina brunette with silver hair and olive skin. I have brown eyes, a big smile, and tonight I'm wearing, like a white tank top with a little bit cream embroidered lace kimono. I got my gold colored makeup, lots of earthy jewelry. I'm feeling wonderful and happy and peace. So thank you for joining. We are here every week with powerful stories and experiences, and I'm here to destigmatize. I want to normalize mental health, disability, and trauma, a place where we share our mayhem, create opportunities through connections, and be a voice to break the stigmas and encourage acceptance. This week, I don't think I'm going to need a trigger warning, I think. Discretion, of course, is always advised, but no trigger warning. I think it's going to be a great show. If you are new to my show, please subscribe, support my work. My handle, Silver Fox Talks. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitch. I love Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Also, anyone that's interested in live streaming or needs production, reach out. I'm available. And as well, thank you to Restream for powering this live tonight. And if you noticed, it's 6:30 Eastern time. I'm streaming at a new time. Next week, we will be falling back on our clocks. And for winter, I think 6:30 would be just a little bit better for a time to stream. So I'm super excited for tonight's episode. I really appreciate everyone that's already in the chat. I will get to you. I promise. I can't wait to bring out my guests. It's always fun when I have the guests to welcome the chat. So drop some love to each other, support each other. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Are you ready to be de-stressed? I've got my new friend, Paty. She's going to be here tonight. Mariposa Hernandez. She is a stress release expert. She's a Reiki master, professional speaker. She's here to promote International Stress Awareness Day, which will be Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday's supposed to be like the most stressful day. So that's why it's on a Wednesday. And we're here to highlight the best practices for stress management, well-being, performance. And we want to just always make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. We all know that prolonged stress can lead to life-threatening issues. So that's why we're here. I'm going to go ahead and get my guest out here in just a minute. I'm so excited. She is seasoned in crisis and trauma. She's certified health coach. So if anybody wants to reach out to her, please do so. She is bicultural. She has experienced various personal tragedies, which reaffirmed her belief to embrace life, live with purpose, and understand more about healing naturally, which we'll talk about, and transformation, which I am such a proponent for, as well through our lifelong journey. So we are going to bring out my guest. Where is she? Oh, Mariposa. Paty.
Hola, hola.
Hi. Welcome.
I'm so grateful and excited, especially just to even be in here. Just getting to here was a little bit traumatizing. And in fact, I was like practicing some of my techniques, which I'll be sharing throughout this show about how we can stress less now. So that is really my focus, because a lot of times, and we'll be talking about what is stress, how it shows up in your body, and what are just simple ways you can release it, and then what are some other ways you can release it, especially if you have that chronic.
Yes. Thank you for coming on my show, accepting my invite. I hope we have a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I mean, just our first chit chat was really energizing. And normally we talk about really heavy subjects. So it's really nice to look forward to something that's going to be a lot more lighter and a little bit more refreshing and just kind of re energize us as a whole and stress less. And I can't wait to hear your story too.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, you definitely have a story. And I'm just, again, DJ, thank you for just opening up this conversation today. And just every time you have different guests come on, just being able to establish a platform and stay with consistency, that is so key. And I know a lot of us struggle with that consistency, which then creates a lot of stress in our life. So it just really depends.
Yes. Stress. Who doesn't know about stress? I think everybody knows about stress. So this should be really for me, hopefully enlightening. I can take away something new, and I'll just be learning a little bit how to manage better, cope better my own self, and hopefully we can have some takeaways tonight. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
Tell
of
me a little bit
course.
about you, your past, and how you got to the point where you're at. What makes you Mariposa?
I love that. So backstory. So I'm born and raised in Miami. I've been a social worker now for over 20 years, and an energy worker along with health coach for about 10 years. And so I've always enjoyed helping people, just really listening to people. I travel a lot, and every place I go, this was even before being a therapist, people would just come up to me. They're like, I don't know, but I just need to be like, blah. Have you ever just done that to someone where you just like find somebody like, even in the market, you're like, I just need to emotionally vomit right now. Blah. They're like,
Yes.
thank you. I feel so much better. And they go, and you're just like, oh, they just dumped all this toxicity on me, right?
Yes. It happens. It happens.
It does. So how we clean it up is going to be important. How we handle our own stuff, so we're not constantly emotionally vomiting. Because usually when we emotional vomit, it's things that we've been holding on for a long time. So how I got along this path of really focusing on stress is when I experienced my most stressful moment, the day that my sister was diagnosed with cancer. And that was in 2009. I was actually like in the last year of my term in the Peace Corps. I was living abroad in Central America. Amazing. I could definitely go off on that whole story.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that could be a different topic. What life is like living abroad in the Peace Corps. And so, yeah, I got that news. It didn't really hit. I ended up traveling or doing my master's in New Mexico. She was in Georgia. And I didn't believe it, to be honest. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, somebody has cancer? Like, oh, it's going to be fine. We'll figure it out. Well, she's the one that turned me on to the chakras and energy healing and raw food. At that time, I will be 100% honest, I thought she was crazy. I was like, what do you mean you're drinking a green juice made out of grass? That makes no sense to me. It tastes awful. She made me try it, and I was like, no. Talk about
Wheat germ? Wheatgrass?
Wheatgrass, yes.
I've had that. Yeah, it's not the best tasting. So
It's
you're
not
right.
the best tasting at all, and she wouldn't let me chase it. So it was just like, just drink it without like a shot of like apple juice or something. So I was like, so I got all of this. Like, what the heck is all this? But she believed in it. She was like, I don't know. I don't want to do chemo. I don't want to do radiation. I want to figure
Yeah.
out why I have cancer and what am I going to do about it. I was like, okay, well, I'll support you. Whatever it is that you're going to do, I'm down.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
she was with us. She did pass away in 2010. Yet during that, I learned Reiki. I got really connected with spirituality. So when she passed, I wasn't physically with her, but I knew the moment she passed. I
Ooh,
knew
yeah.
that she was going to pass because I got to experience with her a spiritual encounter. Now, this was kind of crazy even for me. Being a social worker, I always learned that when your clients say that they're hearing voices, you want to be like, when was the last time you had a psychiatric evaluation?
Yes, that's true.
Right? That's how we're trained. So here I'm
Sure,
going
yeah.
into Eastern modalities where being connected with spirits, being connected with the ghosts, your ancestors, like that's totally normal. And that's how you get a lot of connection and awareness. It's like, oh yeah, I saw my grandmother the other day who's been dead for like 20 years. I was like, okay, let's talk about that.
Mhm.
Oh, really? You believe me? Like, yeah. So that's what I bring into my clients or into my therapy or coaching sessions, is that so following my sister passing away, a year later, my mother was diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
Same location, different name. What I learned from that, what I gathered, because again, I was learning about the chakras, which I'll go over, is that grief. So my sister was diagnosed with lung cancer. She wasn't a smoker. So was my mom. She was also diagnosed with lung cancer.
Oh,
She wasn't a smoker. But lungs is where you carry your grief
really?
and you carry your secrets.
Really? No. Wait. Let's repeat this. I mean, I just really want to understand like that grief is held right here in our chests,
Yeah.
in our lungs, where we breathe,
Yes.
keeps us alive,
Yes.
and we hold that right here, right next to our heart.
Right. So think of a lot, and this is where you get to connect. So I work a lot with thought, like mind and body,
Mhm.
because so many of us are disconnected. And again, this is what I learned through my sister. And then when
Mhm.
my mom was diagnosed, she brought both together. And with my mom, so my sister was abused, molested sexually by a family member when she was young.
Mhm.
She told my
Oh.
mom, didn't believe her. She shut down, right?
Mhm.
So then my sister started beating herself up throughout the years. She had food addictions, alcohol addiction, negative self talk,
Yeah,
right?
that trauma really affected her. Yeah, and
Yeah,
she internalized it at that point.
100%. And so she would look for guys to meet that need of
Mhm.
love me because I'm not lovable.
Yeah, very common in any capacity. I mean, in any capacity, right? Very common though, right? We all have that sense of, are
Yeah.
we lovable? So, mm,
Yeah, so the chakras so the fourth chakra, which is the heart, which is about again grief is when it's heavy, sadness, resentment, that's held here in your heart. And also the opposite, when it's open, it's flowing, and is when you feel happy and joyous, right?
mhm.
even if you're Even if you've gone through a trauma, it doesn't mean you're going to be miserable the rest of your life. It just, you find a way through it, and you keep moving day by day, because you're going to get triggered. Kind of like my sister's been gone now 11 years, and it still feels like yesterday. I still get thoughts of her, or when I see someone that looks like her, or I see an image or something, I go into that fetal position. I'm like, right? Just like I did 11 years ago. Because the body does not, even though we think it does, but the body does not know age. So it doesn't know if the trauma happened yesterday or 11 years ago. It just knows it happened.
And I had a grief expert talk about grief, and that myth about time heals all wounds, and it doesn't. Time really does not heal. So that really kind of mirrors that, or kind of supports that in itself, about how you're right. It doesn't know time.
Right. So, and I'll give you a really good example. And we were kind of talking about this before, about like the power of thoughts. So imagine if, let's say, you got into an argument with a loved one, right? So that argument happened this morning. Well, it's 6 p.m., 6:45 right now. If you thought about that argument right now, your body will think you are back in that same moment having the argument. Your body reacts just like it did in the morning. Your thoughts are still like, you're just angry and throwing out like, I can't believe he did that to me, blah, 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 right? So you're keeping the argument going. What's missing is the person, but your body has no idea. It's just like, oh, the argument is back again. Okay, I'm ready for war. What are we going to do? Are we going to fight, or are we going to run? That's what stress is.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Alex, for your comment. So Alex says, my mom passed away 17 years, and I still think about her every day. I mean, that weight, that loss is still very much present.
For sure. And what happens when people say time heals everything, it's not necessarily time. It's actually life. It's experiences. You continue to live your life. Yet what's going to be important, especially with grief, is that you still have an opportunity to still connect. So I have an altar behind me, and my sister's picture is right here. So I see her every day on my altar, and I give thanks, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be in the spot right now. I don't know where I would be. Who knows? Who cares? Right? So what stress is, and I just want to share it because everybody's like, I just want to be no stress. Like, stress is whatever. There's no way. You're going to experience stress every day. That's a fact. And what stress is, it's your physiological response to what your mind thinks is a stressful moment, meaning it believes it's going to be attacked. So it's going to either run from the issue, right? That's called flight, or it's going to become aggressive and fight. And now aggression could be verbal, like where we just argue with people, or it can be physical, where we actually kind of, fight with someone. But it can also be aggressive in how we stand. So, when somebody's mad, they're just like, right?
Yeah, we clam up, we get tight, we hold it in.
Right?
Yeah, we ball up, our fists get tight.
Yes. So I want to show you, I want to actually give you an example, not example, but I want to demonstrate the power of your thoughts and how easily it shows up in your body and how easily you can shift it if you're given the right tools. You want to play?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, awesome. So everybody can play. So if you're able to close your, so I'm going to explain right quick. So if you can close your eyes, that's better. But if you're driving, don't close your eyes. Or if you're doing something, stay with your eyes open. But when you have your eyes closed, you're actually close. It's kind of like you're shutting the door, and you're able to go more into your body, more into yourself. And so you experience it. When you have your eyes open, that's why they always say in meditation, close your eyes or lower them so you're not distracted by something, because we get easily distracted.
Sure. Visual, right? Most of us are very visual. So
100%. So, all right, everyone. So what we're going to do is, like I said, go ahead and close your eyes if you can, or look down. And I'm going to share with you various feelings. And just think of the first thought that comes to you. All right. So with your eyes closed, I want you to think of a memory that was sad. Whatever it is, and just notice where in your body it is. All right. You have a sad emotion or a memory?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and snap that out. Now I want you to think of a memory that brought you, that you felt kind. You have your kindness. Okay. Now find where that kindness is in your body. And then there's a third emotion. I want you to think of a time when you got angry. Just think of anger, that memory.
Anger. Okay,
Yeah.
good one.
Notice where it's in your body. And now the last emotion is I want you to think of a time that you were happy.
Happy.
Right? Whatever happiness means to you. Notice where it's in your body. And then just give yourself a good shake. Shake it off. Right? That's a lot of energy you brought up. So, and anyone who wants to play with this in the chat, I'd like to hear from either you in the chat or you, DJ, what was that like to go through 4 different emotions in less than a minute?
Oh, that was on purpose. I was like, wait, I'm trying to figure out where I'm feeling it. So for me, I could tell, like, I think when we talked about sadness and then anger and like you feel your body, even your body posture changes.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wait, like you want to get like, oh, let me get like for anger.
Right.
I'm ready to fight. Like, wait, I got to defend myself, right? And sadness, it's like I wanted to sink down. My shoulders dropped. I was like sad and my head wants to fall down. So I would think, maybe more like, but that's just me. Happiness, I think it makes you want to raise your face, open your mouth. You're a lot more relaxed in your body. You may want to pull your shoulders back to open up your chest a little bit and let that. And I understand about light. So I say that like leaving your heart a lot more vulnerable, a lot more open to any messages or any energy exchanges at that point with that emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you recognize that. And that's sometimes how we go throughout the day. We have these emotions kind of flowing within us throughout the day. And then all of a sudden, like we get an emotion and then our brain's like, oh, let's do something about that. Connect with that thought and the emotion. And so let's say if you started feeling sad and then you start getting conscious about it. Like, oh, I'm sad. Why am I sad? I wonder. And then your brain's like, yes, she asked. Boom, 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 boom. All the reasons that you're sad. All the reasons you're sad, which isn't really what's happening. You just got sad. Your body just whatever resonate with sadness. But then your mind was like, well, let me make that sadness bigger. Let me get that emotion bigger. And so what stress is, again, it's the physiological response. What creates stress, chronic stress, is when we stay in that physiological response of stress. When you stay in it, kind of like, do you remember, I don't know if your mom ever told you this, but I heard this more in school. Like, if you keep that face on, it's going to stay frozen.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have heard that.
Right.
Yeah.
So guess what? If your body stays in chronic stress, it's almost like it freezes. So it's harder for you to know what Being happy is if for so long you've been miserable, you've been frozen in that emotional state, that thought process.
Right. What, and that emotion could be anything, right? It could be like grief, it could be anger,
Yeah.
it could be sadness.
Yes. It could be any emotion that you choose consciously or unconsciously to keep feeding it.
We do
So
that a lot, right? I mean, as humans. And I was thinking when you were talking about the trigger, like, it's hard for a lot of people to turn towards that emotion. It's hard to question that. Why am I reacting this way? Why am I feeling this way? Because a lot of us, I know for me, I'm like, I don't want to know the answer. Let me just go stay busy.
yes, and that is what keeps. So I created a quiz. If you go to my website, mariposasholistic.com, which it's a free quiz that you can identify what's your emotional response to stress.
Yes,
Are
I
you
shared that in the
yeah,
post.
yeah.
Love that.
Are you a victim? Are you a survivor, or you thrive? Basically, a victim is anyone who stays with that, woe is me. Why is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this an issue? Why does this keep coming up, right? But more from, I'm not good enough kind of mentality. Whereas a thriver, the other extreme is more of a person's like, man, that was a really crappy situation that happened, or that really sucks. Well, what can I do now about it? Right? Or what is the reason this keeps showing up in my life? This happens a lot with dating. If you keep seeing yourself attracted to the same person, why? Right? But asking, not so it's not the person per se, it's that there's attributes, there's something that keeps attracting you to that person, right? It could
That
be
personality, right? Those characteristics, right? That you, I think we look towards to validate, even if it's a negative validation, even if it's a negative like thing we're trying to prove to ourselves.
yeah. So my goal, what I love to just do is just to teach people,
Oh.
how can you, like, when you start, like, a lot of my clients say that they entered like the spiral, right? That spiral of negative thinking.
Yeah.
And so how you disconnect it is, one, you first have to realize you're going down the spiral. Once you're like, oh crap, I'm falling, that's when you bring out your self-care techniques, right? That could be reaching out and calling for help. It could be to a friend, a crisis line, which those aren't just for crises. I used to work on a crisis line, and I would just a lot of times get people, they're like, I haven't spoken to somebody in like 3 months. Can you talk to me? Of course. That's a crisis. When we feel disconnected.
Like loneliness, isolation, so common right now with the
Yeah,
C word. We're not going to say it because we don't say
right.
that, but
The craziness, right? We disconnected, which is going against our nature as social beings. The longer
Absolutely.
you stay disconnected, the more stress you get. So,
Wow.
and then that leads to chronic health issues, which say, well, let's say you start having back problems. Well, that's probably because there's either a heavy load you've been carrying you don't want to carry anymore, having emotional disconnecting. If you're having a lot of arguments with a loved one, that's a pain in your back, right? So we say these words and they actually are showing up as physical characteristics of stress.
Yes. I think a lot of people really can understand that. I think a lot of people can really start to maybe now, after everything that's happened the last year and a half, understand how we really, like, how it does affect us when we're constricted, when we are kind of stuck, right? Even if it's like in physical space, isolated, uh And that can really take a toll on us, and then internalizing it, like I was saying, and then all the things that the traumas from our past, from our childhood, kind of creep into those thoughts. And then, oh, I can only imagine really like how it all starts to affect us and where we carry it, and then how we externalize it, right? How we project it.
Right. And that's where it comes, that difference between victim and thriver, right? That choice that we make. For example, I was listening to a motivational talk by Trent Shelton. And what he was saying, which a lot of people say, your past is your past. Yes, it may have sucked. You may have lost a lot of people. You may have gone through a lot of trauma. That is your story. But how long do you want to keep owning it? Like making it be like, because I grew up poor, I have to stay poor. Because I grew up in an abusive relationship, I attract only abusive people. That's a story we have to continue. We either choose to continue saying, or we make a decision to say, I was in an abusive relationship and I chose to leave it, and now I'm in a healthier one because of this, this, and this, and this. Like it is about doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Stress doesn't just go away. It's
we gotta work towards being stress-free. We have to work
100%.
Towards that, seeking that freedom, that healing, that space where it does not bog us down emotionally, psychologically, physically.
Yes. So James actually brought up one of my favorite points, and he's like, there's so much around in nature that connects us.
Let's bring that comment up, James. Thank you, James, for being here. Always a great, wonderful, contributor to our conversations every week.
Yes. Oh my God. I love it. So being out in nature, why do you think last year, once the people were able to leave the house, where do they go? Nature. In droves. It was insane. Because people were like, we're out. Shoot, we're free. Right?
Yeah.
Once you get outside. So I'll give you an example. I had a client this morning start spiraling, really negative thoughts. Before we were able to have our session, I said, go outside. Just go outside. The moment she went outside, she started shifting already. Just by stepping outside, because what happens is when we're in four walls, it feels like, one, that's not part of our nature. We're disconnected from nature, right? That does cause us stress the more you stay inside. Connected to technology, that causes a lot of internal stress you may not even be aware of. But what happens when you go outside, you spend some time on the beach, in the mountains, or whatever, you're like, I feel so free! Life is awesome! Right? Not a care in the world. How often do we see that or hear that?
So true. Yes. Mackenzie, wonderful advocate for nature, streams from nature, the river, the trees, grounding ourselves really into that, where we come from, and breaking away from technology. I mean, we were having that amazing conversation on meta and what's meta and the new name change, and just breaking that virtual life in that world. So now that has become so much more mainstream of who we are, all of us, all across the globe. Yeah. And those lines are just becoming that much more blurred.
Yeah.
So, I question it all the time. I'm like, is this real? Yeah. Wait, I'm not sure. Is this opportunity real? Is this conversation real? Is this connection real? Because it's
real. I mean, that can go a whole different rabbit hole.
I'm going to go hug the tree.
Yeah.
That's real.
100%. And I know a lot of people say that, when I tell them to, I once was doing this discussion, and I was like, one of the ways that you can ground is literally go hug a tree. Or I just go hug a tree. And he's like, wait, are you saying physically, go hug a tree? I'm like, yes, physically go hug a tree. Just do it. Let me know how your response is.
Or I love it when I feel those initial like raindrops, that first 1 or 2 raindrops. Now, me and you're in Florida. So in Florida, but when I start to see the clouds and those rain, and I'm like, nature is, providing, right? Because water's so important. So, I mean, that same sentiment is right there of being connected to nature when I feel the raindrops.
Yeah.
Or hey, the beach.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So sometimes all we have to do is put something on. So meaning like put that music on, right? A lot of meditation songs have nature sounds. When you listen to it, your brain's like, I know that song. Oh. Yeah, like it goes into relaxation. It's like, and I'm done, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens is your body then remembers, oh, raindrops make me happy. So it goes back to that feeling of feeling safe and happy. So every time you hear a raindrop, you're like, that's it. That's all you need. And that stress is like gone. Like literally,
Yeah.
it really is that simple. We love to complicate it. We love to stay in our thoughts and be like, I'm the worst person ever.
Let's ask the chat. How do you like to de-stress? Give me one tip that you like to do to de-stress. I want to engage the chat. So I want to hear it, chat. Let's go. Let's share our ideas of de-stressing and how do we let it go or how do we connect back?
So
Ground ourselves.
Yes. So James has a poem. Love it. So writing poetry is a really good de-stressor.
Yes, I love to write poetry. But there's a purpose between that. Because so you've been to grad school, and in grad school they teach us how to write. Oh, AP, like it's very structured. And I personally, in my healing and trying to go through that personal growth, I had a hard time writing in a sense of free consciousness and just letting it out. So I found poetry, although structured, still freeing.
Yeah.
So thank you, James. We share that. Okay, I just want to go real quick to Alex's comment, though. It's just funny. Can't say I haven't hugged a few trees in my day. So that's good. There we go. A few more tree huggers. And how warming that is and how energizing that really is. I mean, got to break that stigma.
Yes. So I want to share another really simple tip. Let's say you can't go outside for any reason. Or you're in an office and you're just really feeling anxious. A way to release your anxiety or bring it down is literally taking off your shoes. Just take off your shoes, take off your socks, and just have your feet flat on the ground. You're going to notice, even if you're inside, even if you're 100 stories up in the ground or up in the air, you're going to feel the magnet of the earth, which that's why it's called grounding. It's literally the energy of the earth is pulling your energy down to ground you.
Yes. So for me, someone that really has felt a lot of anxiety throughout my life and hearing about grounding techniques and figuring out and I gardening for me is one of those ways to ground myself, really get my hands and feet into the soil. And so I agree, walking without your shoes on and really and even in the beach, right? Like when we feel, as soon as we put our feet into that sand, it's like, but I mean, I really appreciate that. So I agree with that. That's really powerful for me. And do you think our energy really, we can let that energy go through our feet? Does it move through our body? How does
it does? It actually does. It may be a subtle feeling, but you'll notice it instantly. It's really simple, right? So the moment you just start feeling, right? Because what's happening is your body's going into that fight or flight response. By you taking off your shoes, you're disconnecting from fight or flight and reconnecting or aligning with yourself. And just
those shoes mean run?
Those
shoes mean run, so take them off. But the shoes, I mean, so I mean, let's just get like technical here. Like shoes are artificial. Like we put on shoes to protect our feet, but really we need to take off our shoes and free that part of our body to really let the energy go. Like wiggle our toes, right? Like how nice is it when we're all working tense behind a desk, zooming, and we're all taking our shoes off underneath, wiggling our toes, stretching our legs, because we're trying to find that comfort, that release.
Yeah.
Right? Whether that Zoom call is stressing us out, we're on camera, we have to perform, we have to send a specific message, we have information that needs to be exchanged. And then underneath, we're trying to find ways to de-stress, right? In that moment, whether it is taking our shoes off or stretching our legs, kicking out, moving, wiggling our toes. So I think that's 100% accurate. And I couldn't, hey, we like to do that.
Yes. And another favorite way of de-stressing, which I find most adults have forgotten to do, and I think we need to bring this back, is having a temper tantrum.
What? Temper? Like, what do you mean? Like just letting it all...
Yes. So basically, you have a child, right?
Yeah, I do.
Sometimes they haven't outgrown their temper tantrums, but what I'm saying is, when a child doesn't get their way, what they do is they literally throw themselves on the floor. They're kicking and screaming and punching and just be like, ah, until they wear themselves out. And then they're fine.
Or when we have our emotional moments, right? We got to cry it out, let it out. And once it's over and out, exposed, released, it's like,
Exactly.
okay. Somehow we can compose ourselves and then regroup because it's been exchanged outward.
Yeah.
Physically, it's been released, right?
Exactly. And guess what? That's releasing energy instead of keeping it stuck in.
Like when we get tight and we're like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Right? We shut down. We close our hearts.
Stonewall.
Closing that communication. I'm fine. You're not.
I dreaded I'm fine. The dreaded I'm fine. We're not fine. So it's okay. Let it out. We got to let it out. James, I know you're sharing your poem. So I appreciate you sharing your poetry. This isn't a poem. Let me read this. It might be a poem.
Yeah, he put his poem. I read it in like 3 different ways.
Okay. James, I can't wait to see the post that you make out of this poem. We're going to have to chit chat again. So thank you for sharing your poetry. I really appreciate that and that expression and us all finding our way to express ourselves, to let out that stress. Ooh. Do you think that stress is just at an all-time high now? Do you find that that's more common in your professional opinion and what you've experienced with your clients and your business?
For sure. I don't want to say the stress is different. I feel that it's just more intense because of we've added the pandemic stress. That is now an actual diagnosis.
Yes. I seen that DSM-5. Are they going to come out with a DSM-6? I mean, eventually, but that takes time. But yes, I did hear that they would come up with some new diagnoses because of the increased levels of stress that the pandemic has brought on.
Right.
And the unknown effects that will continue on afterwards.
Yes. Because with this pandemic, what it's brought to surface are a lot of mental health challenges that maybe the person was already experiencing. And so I'm like I said, I'm also a mental health therapist, and I do virtual, so video as well as in person. And the level of people seeking mental help, thank goodness, has been increasing because people are finally saying, I can't do this by myself anymore. I'm about to crack. I don't want to be here anymore. So we work on identifying what that means, and just what I've noticed overall is just being able to give a person a place to speak and be honest and feel safe. They're able to open up and release so much crap that they've been dragging for years. I don't know how many people have said, I've never told that to anybody, and I just let it go. Once they did, their world started shifting.
This way. Yes, I agree. I mean, this is so wonderful to really see that this is just becoming more and more important as a conversation. We're all becoming more aware of this, and the acceptance part, which I talk about every week, very different. Awareness is one thing, but acceptance of this, acceptance of these issues, what we're holding, what's going on. It's very difficult, even for me, when I become aware of something within my body, within my cognitive mindset, within my processes, and I'm like, oh, I don't like the way I do that. I can't believe, and I come to terms with that. The acceptance part is always difficult, but really moving towards how can I learn to let it go and be okay and not hold on to that. But I agree 100% with a safe space and really getting it off our chest, as that good old cliche says. Right? And that's a cliche with purpose. There's a reason why they say that.
Yep. And I have to say that really what I've noticed just throughout my over 20 years, what really keeps people in chronic stress, again, are our thoughts. And our reaction to life events. So, for example, if somebody's going through a lot of physical pain, right? Well, that is your body telling you, I'm overwhelmed and chronically just experiencing stress. So somebody was just saying that their PTSD lives in their neck and shoulders. PTSD, what it is, it's blocked or stuck trauma, emotions, and thoughts stored in the body. And the body's like, well, I don't know where to put it. Boom, it puts it somewhere in the body. And then that's where the pain just is. But once you start working on it, and there's no one size fits all on releasing any kind of trauma, but it's a variety. So chronic stress is usually, again, also related to trauma. Again, how it shocked our system. So we can be traumatized at age 5 or younger.
I think it's really important. You made it really very good point, even though it was kind of almost boo. But like what I said at the beginning of the show, everyone carries the stress is different. So for some, it's grief, but it's still stress, right? It's sadness, but it's still stress. It might be mental illness, but it's still stress. It might be work related, influential from our external environment, but it's still stress.
Yeah. It's stress because you keep the more you think about it, the more it just, and sometimes you're not consciously thinking about it. So this is what happens with PTSD or trauma, is that people are not consciously thinking about the trauma, but it's so lodged in their system that the body's just like, any moment now, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. So that's what the stress response is. It's the body thinking, I'm going to die. So I'm either going to fight off my attacker or I'm going to run away. Now think about it. Some of our chronic stress or our stressors don't even have to deal with people. It could be your cell phone. Oh, another notification, another calendar, another event, another training. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I got to go feed. I got to cook meals. I got to go drive. I got to go. Oh, I don't have time. Guess what? You just created stress. The way you were thinking about how horrific all of this stuff is.
Catastrophic. Say, help me. Catastrophic. Yeah, the mental health term. Catastrophic. I can't even say it. Catastrophic. You're making everything like it's the worst thing in the world.
Yes, totally, right? Like, and we can do that really well. And that's
Yeah.
where depression and anxiety can also be added into it, because we're just like, no one loves me, right? That could be the underlying pain, is I'm not lovable. So guess what? That's going to keep showing up, how we treat other people, how we treat ourselves. So getting to the root, again, why are you feeling this way? And that's where talking to someone, a professional, preferably a coach, right? An energy worker, a doctor, somebody to be like, I can't do this by myself. Here, help me carry this burden. Tell me what to do. That's it.
Reach out to Paty. Reach out to Paty.
Reach
Reach
out.
out to Paty. She's awesome. Yes, catastrophic. I still can't say it. I can still read it. I know English. I just cannot say it today. My mouth does not want to work. So, yes, that term right there. We do that. We have a tendency to do that, and it just adds more burden and more stress. So, okay, I want to go over our little list of, make sure you had 5 self-regulation techniques, and we talked about grounding, and we talked about deep breathing. Did we talk about deep breathing? Oh goodness.
We did not. So actually, that was posted in one of the notes. So I want to share with you the different types of breathing. There's 2. And this is usually what happens. Once you notice what you're doing, again, you can switch off the stress response. So when you're in anxiety or stress, you start breathing from here. We call that shallow breathing. Kind of like you're like, I can't, right? Or like you get a pain. Guess what? You're like, I got another pain, another jolt of pain.
Yeah, we feel like we're losing our breath. Shortness of breath is very common. People say that all the time.
Yeah. So you're literally holding your breath, which is the opposite of what you need to do, because but every time you hold your breath, you lock into tension, tightness, right?
Sense.
So if you want to release the pain, that's when they say breathe through the pain. Expand the energy instead of like, oh, it's painful, it's painful, it's painful. No, don't do that. And then boom, you lock yourself in, and it becomes even more painful. You're like, I knew it. It's painful.
It's true though. Yes. I mean, listen, I like tattoos. You like that? I mean, breathing through that pain.
Yeah. That's totally what it is. So breathing through that pain or any other pain is you do it through your lower belly. When I say, so the area below your belly button, you focus on that. So I say, imagine you're being the Buddha, right? So you're creating the Buddha belly, and then you're releasing the Buddha belly, and you're opening it and letting it go. So when you focus, that's what they say when you breathe, is focus on your breath and you're expanding it. When you expand your breath, what you're doing is you're filling up your lungs with oxygen, which is rising up to your brain, which then your brain's like, I'm relaxed.
Relief. Yes.
Ooh, tranquility.
Yes.
So that's what they mean by breathe, because I know a lot of my clients have like the Apple Watch, and they're just like, it keeps telling me to breathe, but I don't have time to breathe, and you stay in stress. It's like, if you're not making time to make these stressless moments, you're gonna stay in chronic stress.
I do remember. I don't know what that was, Cherry, but yes, I like the comment about finding Cherry, where she talks about yoga is the best therapy. For me, that was something that I really helped me learn to connect my mind to my body. And I found, and fundamentally, just really focusing on the breath work initially, just learning that basic 101, right? Just being aware of your breath. So it really does help. I do know that. Oh, wait. Hi, Emily. Thank you for being here. I saw your comment. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you. So many wonderful people. So I just can't say hello to everyone. And our conversation is really important. I mean, it really continues to encourage individuals to be more aware of their levels of stress, recognize it, take care of ourselves, put our self-care first, put ourselves first. It's okay. I think society as a whole is really opening up their minds and their hearts, and they're understanding more how important it is to take care of ourselves. I mean, we could talk about so many other different things in society that really show that, demonstrate that, but we really can't get into that. But yeah, thank you, Emily, for your comment. It is so, breathing is so important. I didn't think so during my naval career. I know, right? In the military, that's like, that's not the focus. And it's something that we really have to kind of learn along the way as we're learning to take care of ourselves.
Right. And one of the things that, I created an online membership community that focuses on self-care, where once a week we come in community and we're like, hey, let's do yoga together and then talk about it. Right. Or the next one, we get to do like oracle readings, right? Where we get to be like, ooh, what are the cards going to tell me today? So oracle is like distant thunder, clear the air. So if there's, which is so perfect for what we're talking about, because if there's a lot of stress, find out what's causing stress and then make a plan. What can you do about it? How can you get back into control? Because stress is about being out of control. Same as anxiety, the what if. How am I going to do this? Does this all resonate with all of you? I mean, I see so many people are like, oh my God, this is, yes, resonating, how it shows up. I
think a lot of people are really sharing this information, and I think people are really starting to understand really how it does work, how we do hold that.
Yeah. The most important thing at the end of the day is realize we can't do this by ourselves. Like, even I have a therapist, even I have like a coach to be like, dude, there's some days I'm like, I'm not doing too hot.
I say that a lot. Every coach has a coach. Every therapist has a therapist.
Yeah.
It's
I say
true.
that too. And if that therapist doesn't have a therapist, don't go to her.
Right. Don't go to them if they are not willing and open to say, yeah, we all need this type of care for ourselves. It's really important, and there's nothing to shame. There's nothing to be guilty about. It should be definitely normalized, and it should be shared. I mean, like, we all need to really encourage our own well-being. We want a healthy society.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So Rosemary just gave my favorite tip, one of my favorite tips, which is movement, which is dancing. So yes, one of the best things to do is create like a happy playlist. So if you have Spotify, or if you have iTunes or YouTube, whatever it is, create a happy list of all those songs, like 5 or 10 that really get you going and you're like, yay, right? Bring you back to childhood, whatever. Play that whenever you're feeling sad, and it may help shift you. And I say may because there's nothing set in stone, right? These are stressless tips to deal with the stressless in the moment. If it keeps happening, because Emily said, for example, that she used to think that work was just stressful. That was the way life was. That's a thought process, right? We just think this is normal. Once you're like, wait a second, this doesn't feel good, then that's when you get to start shifting your story. No, work doesn't have to be stressful. No, it doesn't have to be painful. No, it doesn't have to be a drag. Does it suck sometimes? Probably. But what can you do each moment to make it the best possible experience ever?
Yeah, right. How can we manage those moments better? We're reaching out to the hour, and I'm like, no, I'm not done. But I mean, just to say that coping is one of those words that some people, kind of have different perspectives on, but figuring out what works for you and how you can really take care of yourself, preserve yourself. I think I like to talk about preserving myself, and I know what works for me, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, what I need in my life, what I should stay away from, and just being insightful about that and taking care of yourself. Rosemary, I'm so happy you're here. So thank you always for sharing your comments. I'm so happy that Patty's here. We gotta start wrapping this up. I know, good old rock and roll, shake it, move it. I'm a dancer. I like to kind of get out there and loosen it up. I know. I carry a lot in my neck as well. James always talks about music. I appreciate James always being here every week to talk about Johnny Cash. We talk about Five Finger Death Punch. I know we love our Five Finger Death Punch, me and James. So we talk about that. I know. Thank you. Such a fast hour. You're telling me I could go on another hour. Weather, yes. All those environmental influences that really can affect us, our moods, our emotions, memories. It triggers emotions, it triggers thoughts. It's a lot that comes at us each and every day, every single moment. So yes,
exactly. So I hope these tips were helpful. If they were, awesome, share your favorite tip that you're going to walk away with, that you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to implement that. Because what's most important is that you have a self-care toolbox. So I'll give you an example. Right before coming onto the show, I was feeling some stress because I couldn't get on, and I was like, mother, I'm like, dang, what am I going to do? And I was like, okay, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. You've got this. What can you do to figure it out? Contacted support, let DJ know, like, this is what's going on. Kept breathing, right? And we figured it out just in the nick of time. So it's keeping with what can I do right now, keep taking action, and not get stuck in the oh crap moment.
Yeah. I mean, we could have easily fallen into I still can't say it. Catastrophic.
Chaotic. How does that sound?
Yeah, we could have totally fell into that, right? And we could have gotten taken away with, oh no, what do we do? Oh my goodness. But really, we know our purpose, and falling back to our purpose, falling back to our own safe space, finding a way to let it out, and finding ways to take care of ourselves, and just kind of, oh, I don't know, just kind of managing through it. Okay, let me get back to the comments. We're gonna start saying our goodbyes. Thank you, James. Yes, I know. We keep talking, trying to find the time to talk.
This is so Hispanic. Goodbye. It takes another 20 minutes.
It takes an hour. I know, this is just the way it is. But Emily, thank you I'm going to breathe consciously. That's wonderful. I love that. Breathing consciously. I know. Thank you, Finding Cherry. I know we can get cut. There we go. Catastrophing. Okay, well, I'll practice for next episode. I guess we're just gonna say our goodbyes. Patty, if there's anything else we're gonna share, connect with Patty, please. Friends, connect with Patty. She's amazing. She's wonderful. She gave you all this amazing information. Her information was in the post. She's on Instagram. Where are you at, girl? You're everywhere.
Basically, I'm a mariposa. I'm a butterfly. I just like to go flutter around, be like, oh, you're stressed, let me help you out.
I know, and your energy is amazing. Well, thank you, Patty. Amazing. You've been fantastic. Let's close out. I'm going to let you go flutter away and be free, and we'll follow up eventually, here in the next couple days. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your information and you sharing with us these amazing tips. So it's just putting into practice, right?
Yes.
Implementing.
Yes, sure. Yeah. So James, definitely let's have a conversation. Anybody else on here, send me a DM. Let's just have a chit chat and talk about stress and how to let it go.
All right. Thank you, Patty. Thank you. You have a great night. Bye, everyone. Good night. We'll see you next week.